So joining me for another bite-sized Science Week conversation is ACES and University of Wollongong Research Fellow, Dr Eva Tomaskovic-Crook. Thanks for joining me, Eva.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me.
How have you been through these last few months? That's what I've been asking everyone as soon as we've jumped on, because we're doing these over Zoom. This whole COVID situation's
challenging.
Changed the lives
Yeah.
for all of us, especially researchers like yourself.
Yeah, Sam, it's been quite challenging. Basically having to deal with things in lots of different ways, taking on new skills. One perfect example is trying to get Zoom meetings going. It was a very quick transition in terms of getting familiar with the technology, but also how to interact with people over a computer. We're so used to, I know I'm a person who I like to see people and see reactions, and I find it very difficult to talk over the phone. So having a point where you're looking at a screen and having to identify with people and speak about complex issues and what sort of research you're doing, and having that chemistry that you get talking to people is quite challenging. So yeah, it's been good to learn that new skill and very quickly. But in terms of the lab, we've been significantly reduced. It's bare minimum essential experiments that are going on. I've had cells that have been going on in culture for almost a year, and so it's always, it's like, I just need to go into the lab and do that little thing, and just trying to plan those experiments that can be quite complex around them can be also difficult when you're on, minimal time to be able to do it. So yeah, having said that, it's been time to refocus. It's been time to work out exactly what is critical to your work, and it's been a good opportunity to start to apply for grants, because we all need to plan ahead, and we all need to think about, what is the next horizon that we want to, next challenge that we want to take on. So yeah, it's been a full time though.
So speaking of your work in the labs, what exactly is your area of research?
So I am a cell biologist by training, and I basically take those cells that I'm familiar with, the human-induced pluripotent stem cells, very specialised cell that can become any part of our body, any somatic cell, and I also look at human neural stem cells, and I grow them up, and I coax them along and integrate them into three-dimensional biomaterials. So I make these lovely hydrogels, these lovely niches that my cells can reside within and grow, and I coax them along to differentiate into primarily neural tissue types. So we're trying to look at finding ways to develop platforms in a three-dimensional orientation, like what we have in tissues, like what we have in our body, to recreate the environments that we can then use for testing potential understanding of underlying disease biology, looking at, say, therapeutics, looking at drugs that might affect it, stimulating those cells so you can get them to mature, to be more representative of what is in our body, and just looking at the potential of maybe we can grow parts that we can transplant back into a patient. So broadly speaking, it's about using cells to grow in a three-dimensional supportive environment for neural tissue modelling.
So what attracted you to a career in science initially?
For me, it started off with an interest in understanding how our human body works. So of course, as a high school student, I was always interested in, the career path was always medicine. Everyone who's interested in people and how biology functions is focused on medicine. But I found that when I was at university, I found that looking at the underlying mechanisms was just quite intriguing, quite fascinating to understand. There was so much that we didn't know and I really enjoyed that process of delving beyond just a final, going beyond just looking at a person, but looking at the underlying biology that does all these functions that we can do every day. So it was something that during my undergraduate degree just really focused my attention on undertaking a career in science, and specifically in research.
So what would you say would be your favourite part of your job?
It's the discovery. I love going into the lab and say, oh, what have my cells done today? I've tried all these different permutations of things, and it's like, wow, they are doing something I totally didn't expect. I had some inkling. I just wanted to do something, but it's like, look, they did what I was hoping that they might do. My experiments, my hypothesis that I thought might happen, I can follow things and see in a physical sense of what's actually occurring, and then see how I can put those pieces together to do something that's actually applicable to understanding disease biology, just basic biology, disease biology, understand what happens when things go wrong, and then being able to say, okay, how can we apply this to therapies for patients? It goes back to the interest in medicine that I had initially, where I can say, okay, that basic biology, I can see how that might be translatable to a person and how it can really do something practical for mankind, I guess, in the broader big picture idea.
So as this is Science Week, I'm wondering if you could offer some advice to future scientists out there who might be thinking about going into a similar sort of career path.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those catchphrases: find your passion, find things that you're interested in. It takes a lot of dedication. You have to do a few little sacrifices along the way, some major sacrifices along the way. But if you're passionate about what you do, then it's all worthwhile, and it gets you up out of bed in the morning. It says, okay, let's go back into the lab and try another experiment and see what happens when, and I think that's one of the things that really are important when you're considering what you want to do, and when you want to follow a career in research or in science in different fields, find those fields that are of interest to you.
Well, great. Thanks so much for joining me for this Science Week bite-sized conversation. It's been a pleasure to chat, and all the best over the next few weeks as we continue to navigate this interesting time.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks very much for having me.